So I think we're here. I think I'm ready finally. Sorry, I was ready to go and I forgot we needed our laptops. I had to run around and get that. But here we are today. We're going to be reattempting our two-color print. Sorry, my throat's been really sore, so I'm going to be drinking a lot of water today. But we're going to make a second attempt at our two-color print. I was just looking. I did have the one we did the other day, and it was arguably successful, but anybody that watched that stream saw that it didn't really go how you'd hope a two-color print would go. So let me get this situated here. Okay. I have stuff everywhere. I need more monitors. I think we are going to be using. I did a quick video last night. I got my maker box finally, my first one. So I think we'll try at least one of these PLAs. They do kind of have some wild temperature ranges on them. I don't know if my oh, that's way too bright. Sorry. But like this Blue Raptor PLA seems to be kind of a hot PLA. It's recommended 220 to 240, which is kind of hot. Same with the marble infill. So maybe we'll try the red. Maybe we can try doing a red and gray two-color print. We do have the glow in the dark, though. I don't know. It's a tough call. It kind of surprises me. The glow in the dark recommends a hardened nozzle. I would have thought the Monumental from Treed is infused with marble dust or marble powder. I would have imagined that would have required the hardened nozzle, not the glow in the dark. But yeah, we'll try this because we'll also kind of have to deal. I'll have to deal for the first time with the fact that this is not on a spool of any kind. So I'm not really entirely sure what we'll do about that. I'm just looking around the shop here to see if I had any simple solutions to that problem, but I don't think I do. So, but anyway, the last time we tried the two-color print, our issue appeared to be the Z-lift or Z-hop setting, and that's what I was doing before we started the stream here, was looking at these settings. And it looks like I have my stuff backwards here. I need to switch it over. There we go. So I'll just move this over my face here. Here's the, this is the sharpened Batarang. It's kind of like the one that they send with the SD card from the printer. But it's, as you can see, it's like sharpened. So we'll probably be throwing this at some stuff after we print it. But the problem we had before is over here in printer settings, I'm sorry, under the extruder tab. And the other file that we were trying to use had Z-lift, which is a setting that, let me move this. Z-lift is a setting that you can adjust that will bring or make the hot end lift between travels so it doesn't drag across the print if you're having problems with that. It's not something I really know that much about, honestly, but I know it was causing, like if we go to the Prusa site here, where you, with their recommended thing, let me find it. Oh, I have a link. Here it is. The Prusa site here has this cool little thing where you just drop your G-code in, and then you can set the layers at which it'll prompt you to change colors. I guess we'll go ahead and do that. We're ready with our Batarang here, and we're going to do pretty simple settings. Just normal quality, and then really not change much of anything. So we'll go ahead and export that G-code. I need to start labeling this stuff better. because I'm getting tons of files everywhere. Okay. So we exported that, and I still have the clunky setup. I at least ordered a SD reader for my my computer here, which will help a little bit. But for now, I'll be moving my SD card over to my laptop, moving the file over, and doing it that way. Which is admittedly awkward. I will give you that. And there it is. 2-color Batarang. Oh, I guess I totally jumped the gun here. What we need to do first, yeah, I totally skipped a step. What we need to do is take that G code that we just exported, and let me find it here. It's here. It's here. I know it's here. Okay. Let me get this on the desktop. So we're going to take our G code that we just exported with all our settings and everything, and we're going to just drag that into this little box like so, and then we're going to click the add color change. And I'm not entirely sure what we want to do here. I think I want to do like if we're going to use gray and red, maybe we can do like red on the outsides. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. We'll add a color change, and then we'll come 4 layers from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we'll do 5 on each. Okay, so if I understand this, we should print in red. It'll prompt us to change to gray, and then it'll prompt us to change, and we can put the red back in. So that should give us a pretty cool little file. Oh, this damn thing. It opened in I generally use Chrome. Not a fan of this. And we'll just save that to the desktop. And we'll go ahead and replace the other one. Well, I guess I should rename it just to make sure. Okay, but at any rate, so we'll move that over, and I'll put it on the SD card here. Hopefully we have the right file going. So we'll put it on our SD card. I'm kind of skeptical that actually changed, that overwrote the file. Let me do that again. This is Batarang 2. Just to be sure. Okay, and then we'll copy this in here. Alright, just be sure. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this all works. I'll turn our second camera on here. I know that's just of the print bed, but we'll go ahead and change our filament. I'll catch up on chat here in a second when we get this started. So we do have, like I mentioned, the machine's preheating over there. We do have the problem of this is not on a spool, so it's kind of awkward to use from what I've heard people say. But we'll try our best. I think I'll just like temporarily wrap it on this. Being that this is a short print, hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. I say that, watch it be a huge issue. There's our nifty little filament filter. So I'll go ahead and store this away. So hopefully it doesn't get in our way. And then I'll just kind of weave this in here, and we'll have to watch it. I wouldn't recommend doing this like this, but we're gonna have to just get by doing this for now. And there it is, a huge mess on the floor. I've heard people say this is one of the problems with these samples. But as soon as I've used a roll of filament, hopefully it won't be as bad, because I'll have like a spare roll I can use. I can see that this is going to quickly turn into a nightmare. So, yeah, I think we're going to abandon that plan. I think I might just put it on the machine. Luckily, I have the, this is like bringing back memories of Slinkies from my childhood. Because I'll have to sit and untangle this mess on my own time at some point. But hopefully we'll get a print or two out of it without any problems. Because like I said, we probably only need a foot or two, I would guess. So we should be able to get that much to feed in without any problems. Okay, let's quit while we're ahead. Jesus. That went south fast. Okay, I think we salvaged it without too much chaos. But like I said, the roll of gray, I think it's this roll right here. The roll of gray that I had, the spool kind of has an inset on the side, so it didn't work with the spool holders that came with my printer. So I ended up having to put a piece of PVC pipe between the spool holders that it had. So I think we can get by with just like letting this mess rest on that, and just kind of watching it and make sure it feeds in okay. Alright, so we'll get this filament loaded. Okay. Okay, I think we got it loaded correctly. I think we got it. So that wasn't the worst. And we do have some red. That has an odd texture. That has a really rough texture to it. So we'll give it a try. This is the Protopasta matte fiber HT PLA. So this is a complete shot in the dark. I don't know if it'll play nice with the other PLA, but like I said, Joey, this is the Protopasta matte fiber HT PLA. So we'll give it a go here, and we'll go ahead and start our print. I'll wipe this bed off quick. I kind of have a feeling that this isn't going to extrude properly. I pulled the purge strip off here. This feels like, if anybody's ever seen that coating that you like dip the handles of tools in, this feels a lot like that. This is very rough. So we'll see how this first layer lays down. I can see a little piece hanging off the extruder. I'm going to try to get it without messing anything up. I guess it looks okay. It looks like it's printing okay. So I guess we'll find out. I know you can't really see it on the camera here. Make that a little bigger. The first layer looks okay, so I guess we'll find out. And it didn't do that weird thing like it did last time where it prompted us immediately for a color change. So hopefully it all works out. But yeah, we'll let that print. There was a couple other things I wanted to talk about while that's going. Shit, I just mentioned, or I just found, this was the last 2-color print we did. And like I said, it was successful. You can't really see on cam, but there's a little mess up there where the head kind of like, it kept extruding a little bit of filament before it would go back to the job. And I had to keep like reaching in and grabbing it off. Sorry, like I said, I'm probably going to lose my voice here at some point. I think I'm getting sick, unfortunately. But no, like I said, there was a few things I wanted to talk about. One was that I had mentioned before that I'd like to do a giveaway at 250 subs, which was kind of like the 100 sub mile marker. We just kind of blew past it, and I didn't really have any time to prepare. So we're going to try to do all that stuff Thursday. I'm going to do a little bit of research into how to do that exactly. I'm pretty sure there are sites that allow you, like they give you tools to randomly select from your subscribers and stuff. And we're going to do that. We're going to give some stuff away. I'm not entirely sure what yet. But one thing I would like to give away are little sets of some of the upgrades that I've been using for the MK2 that have been really beneficial. I gotta check this filament here. It's flopping around. After this print's done, I'll move the machine up here and we can go over some of them. But for example, are these little vibration isolating feet that I kind of put off making for a while. And I finally made them, and it's unbelievable how much difference they made. Like I had talked about before, I thought a lot of my noise was coming from just the normal operating vibrations of the machine being transmitted into the surfaces that it was sitting on, and that was absolutely the case. So, like, it's beeping for color change. But I'd like to give away little kits of these upgrade items, like a set of these feet, one of the filament guides that I've been using that sits just under your roll, one of these little filters, which I found a nifty little tip that we'll discuss here in a minute with those that helped a lot. But I'd like to give a little set away like that. Let me change this. It's going to drive me crazy. So there are red printed successfully. I'll just kind of lay that here, and we'll get our gray in and trim the end like we should. Just cut it at an angle like we're supposed to. Put our little piece in. Drop it, of course. Okay, we had a successful and relatively painless color change. I'm going to be ready with my tweezers in case it extrudes a little bit like it was last time, but we should be ready. Son of a bitch. Yeah, that ruined that print. I don't know why it does that. That ruined that print. Whenever you confirm that the color change was successful, it extrudes like another 1.5 inches of filament and then tries to resume the job. So that's going to look like crap. I don't know if that's like a problem with the code or something. Yeah, like Peter suggested, I guess I shouldn't have pulled that piece off, but that's still stupid. That should not do that. Why would I don't know why it would do that. Why would it do that? Because it's like it's in a position where you can't well, like the V8 freak just said, just wipe it. You can't. It actually confirms everything, and then at the point which it should just go back and start immediately printing again, it pops out like another 1.5 inches of filament as it's moving back over to the job. I don't know why. That seems really stupid. But you'll be able to see in this print. You can kind of see it up around his ears and stuff. There's just a big blob of filament there. Let me see what Aaron's linking me here. I think he's linked it several times. But I'll post something on the Prusa Facebook group about that because that needs changed. You can't really babysit it enough, apparently. Like someone mentioned, okay, I'll go ahead and show everybody this. I need my third monitor set up. 2 apparently isn't enough. This is what was linked. This is a 2-piece filament spool. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I'll have to give that a go. I won't print that on stream. That'll probably take a little while, but I'll print one of those out and check it out. You still run into the problem that I wouldn't at all trust these for very big prints. I mean, these are purely for testing. I wouldn't use it for anything except, you know, a couple small prints that you can more or less babysit while they're printing, because you're going to get tangles unless you actually take the time and really carefully wrap it around the spool. But even then, I would still kind of not trust it all that much. But no, that's a bummer. I thought this was going to look like a cool print. Okay, so we're going to change the color again. There's our gray off. I don't know why it has to beep continuously. So we'll do like we said. I'll not pull that piece off, and wait for it to confirm and go back to printing, and then pull that piece off as it's doing that. We'll try that. Hopefully that works. Nope, I can't. It already broke off. So we're gonna have to try to ninja this again with the tweezers, which is stupid. I did at least get that this time. I think it's pretty obvious what needs changed here. After the color change, it should go back to the edge of the heat bed and do another purge strip. Or do another skirt or something like that. It needs to do something to clean the print, the hot end, before it resumes printing. Because as it is, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense the way it does it. It's kind of unfortunate. I was pumped to do some, you know, 2-color prints for a purpose, and I'm kind of afraid now. I think it's unlikely that you can reliably get clean prints with this process. I mean, I could see kind of making a tool, like if I'd print basically like a little stick with a hole in it like this, that I could hold. Again, this is ridiculous, but I could see it working. But I could see like holding that around the hot end until it does that little last squirt, and then kind of just like pulling it. But no, that needs fixed. I'm definitely of the opinion that needs fixed. Or like some people mentioned, there might be a different method of doing that, because I think you can manually edit the G code. So there's probably some other places that give that feature. I would really like to get Simplify 3D here in the near future, but like maybe they have a 2-color print feature that's similar. I would imagine theirs would work better. But anyway, hopefully that has a couple minutes to go. Yeah, the red has changed. The red's back in, so this should be the last leg of the print. Because I think it'd be a cool print if it didn't have all that crap in the middle. Yeah, we did 2 color changes in this print. We started with red. We changed to gray, and now we're back to red. So we should have a cool little Batarang. And this one should be pointed, yeah, pointy. Hopefully. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, I would like to do some giveaways because I have all this stuff I've printed that I really don't have a use for. But I'd like to give away maybe 1 or 2 little kits of all this stuff. The orange printed kind of upgrade pieces, like the little filter box to put on your filament, the anti-vibration feet, the rear motor brace that we printed in one of the streams that I think is kind of an important little thing to have, and a filament guide. I think that would be a cool little kit for any of you guys that has an MK2 or an MK1. Like, I think these would work on the MK1s as well, but especially for the MK2s. But I'd like to give away a couple of those. A couple of these test prints. I know people have thought they were cool, like the dragon and some of that stuff out. So we're going to try to do that Thursday. And another thing is that I wanted to mention, I finally did everything I need to do to get all my contact stuff and social media set up. So, because I didn't want to use my personal things, because that's mostly for family and stuff. But I did sign up for Instagram, and I cleaned up my Twitter account, and I'm ready to use that and all that stuff. And I also set up a P.O. box, because I've already had people that wanted to send me stuff, and I don't want it coming to my house. So from here on out, all that information will be in the video descriptions. Like, it's not there now, but it will be at some point today. Part of that will be useful. Like, Thursday, we're also going to try to do a hangout with some of the viewers. So those of you who were interested, you'll have to check back in this video for those links and kind of get in contact with me so we can set that up. Because that should be fun, because some of you guys know quite a bit more about 3D printing than I do, because I'm still kind of new. I've only had the machine for, I think, a little under 3 weeks. So I'm definitely still learning. And that should be fun. I mean, maybe that'll become like a regular thing. Maybe we'll do that like once a month. Yes, let me catch up on chat. Plus, hey, give me a break. I already read chat like way more than most YouTubers do. So give me a break here, guys. Yeah, people have asked repeatedly about the bearings. I'm happy with them. I've seen it's so bizarre, the conflicting information that's going around about them. Like, I'm in the Prusa group, and the consensus there was, to a certain extent, again, not everybody, but overall the consensus was you don't want to use the Drylins because you can crush them with the zip ties. So I joined another different, completely unrelated 3D printing group on Facebook, and the consensus there was you do want to use them, but you have to make sure you crush them with the zip ties so they actually, like, there's no play on the rod. And I thought that was hilarious, that in 2 different places the opposite opinion was gospel, and in both places people were kind of like flaming people who disagreed. So that's the internet for you. Simplify 3D. Yeah, I did contact them. I wanted to try to get like an evaluation copy, because I'm kind of poor, and like $150 for a piece of software is quite a bit. Like, I'm not saying it's not worth it, but for me personally, that's quite a bit of money. It was already a struggle to afford the printer in the first place. So like 25% more on top of that is a little bit. What's with the white balance? Do you mean on the secondary camera? The secondary camera probably needs fixed. It's one of the things that sucks about OBS. Every time I shut it down and start it back up, all the camera settings need changed. So that's probably a little bit better. But yeah, that's like an ongoing battle. So, well, see, like V8 Freak just said, well, you get housings for them that crush them the right amount. With anything, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, that is not true. The housings prevent them from being crushed because when they're crushed, they're deformed and they won't like. It will make them not only increase the friction that they put on the piece that they're riding against, but it'll put it on there unevenly. So the casings actually are for the opposite effect. But again, I could be wrong, but that's my current understanding. That's why I'm trying to get sets of all of the different types of drylands to do some actual like testing, do some myth busting here. But all right, let's get this off here. Well, there you have it. There's a two-color Batman with red on the outsides, gray in the middle, and then a crappy little spot on top. I mean, that looks okay. The red is kind of unique. It kind of has the feeling of like construction paper. Yeah, that's part of the reason I needed to set up a PO box and stuff. Like, Joseph has been offering to send me the sets of those bearings. So I'll get that information to you today, and we'll try to get that video out of the way because it is something that there's a lot of debate and conflicting information about. From what I understand, I haven't actually watched his video, but don't laugh at me. Tom Salander, guy who has in my opinion, a better 3D printing channel than I do. He kind of covered this, but I don't think he covered all the different types. So it's perfectly possible that his video is responsible for some of the misinformation because I'd imagine anybody who feels the need to argue about dryland bearings on the internet has probably watched his video, and at least one person that has commented on my channel was kind of like misunderstanding that there are different types, because there are softer types, and then the types that I used were a little bit harder. But yeah, we'll do a close up here of this top layer on the second cam. But there's the top layer. Whoop. And the bottom layer. And like I said, it's okay. It's alright. You can see it didn't handle the overhang perfectly there. But part of that's because it's small. But no, overall, I think this is cool. It's a cool process. It's cool to be able to do two colors. I think if we did a full-size one, this would be a pretty sweet print. But overall, the red seems to print okay. Even though, like I said, it has a weird rough finish. It definitely is what do they call it? Matte fiber. But we'll have to heat treat it. This one doesn't say, but I think the other one, we can anneal it. Same thing, heat treating, annealing. I'll pop it in the oven here at some point. Well, I'll probably make a bigger one, pop it in the oven, and then maybe later this week we'll do a video of like throwing these at stuff to see how tough they are. But let's try to do this process again. Let's take that same file we used. Let me pull this up here. Let's take the same file. We'll make it a little bit bigger. I think I have it at 50% right now. Let's go to 75. That's a good bit bigger. Screw it. Let's do a 100% one. Okay, we'll export that. We'll do Batarang 3. And we'll pull this into our nifty little website thing here. We'll add a color change. Again, we'll do... I think, yeah, we'll do 4 layers again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And another color change at -4. Or did we do 5? I think we did 5. So there's basically the same setup. I think we'll go a little more, actually. 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. Okay, we'll try that. And Batarang, we'll just do this as 4. Okay, and I'll try my best. We'll try our best to get a clean print out of this. We'll try our best to prevent that problem I was talking about, like the little bit of extra extrusion. And hopefully, being bigger, these corners aren't very sharp because it didn't have support underneath. So hopefully, making it bigger, it'll make the slope a little more gradual. But let's move this over to the SD. Where did I save that? Oh, it's on my desktop. I need to move it. There we go. Okay, and we'll try this again. Okay, we'll try that again. And hopefully we get a clean print this time. All right. But yeah, because this isn't a complete disappointment, but it is kind of disappointing. Especially with the little glob there in the center. And you can clean this stuff up with a knife, but some of this stuff, like if I would go and like sand this or anything, it totally ruins the finish. It defeats the purpose of it being a 2-color print in the first place, because you almost have to paint it then. Yeah, I would imagine someone mentioned that Tom found that all PLA can be heat treated. I wouldn't doubt that at all. Anytime you heat up like something that's printed in layers like this, if you heat up some of the layers and then let them cool and do it in a way that doesn't disturb the print as a whole, it's just going to make those inner layer bonds stronger. I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of materials that you 3D print with can be heat treated to a certain extent. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Well, actually, I'll move the printer up here so we can talk about some of the things that I mentioned earlier. Some of the modifications and stuff. Because it is fairly quiet now with the isolation feet. Huh. They all actually stayed on. I don't know why, but they all actually stayed connected. But as you can hear, at this point, with all the changes that have been made, the machine's fairly quiet. Like, it's obviously not silent, but overall, it's fairly quiet. It's very tolerable to sit like this beside it. I think we definitely need to tweak the settings for this filament a little bit. No, this is high power. I'm not running low power. I mean, you kind of have to keep in mind this is the first layer, so it's 60% speed, which will be a little bit quieter, but no, overall the printer's nice and quiet. Except the hot end fan, that's correct. Probably next week I'll be getting a 40 mil Noctura fan in, and we'll print a 30 to 40 millimeter fan adapter shroud, and we'll go ahead and go through that process of snipping the wires on the old fan, soldering a connector on there, and then replacing it with a new fan that's significantly quieter. But no, this seems to print okay. I could potentially... I'm trying to think of what we could have done to make that overhang turn out a little better. Like I said, hopefully just scaling it up will help with some of that. It looks like there might have been a tiny little bit of an issue with the adhesion of the gray to the red on that first layer where they actually contact each other. Sunon fans are good. Yeah, I think like I've had a lot of experience with computers. Basically, any fan that isn't dirt cheap, you generally will be satisfied with. Any ball bearing fan that's more or less designed for low noise should be okay. Sunon are crap. We have a conflicting opinion on the internet. Who'd ever guess? I don't. V8 Freak asked who uses a power backup and power conditioner for their printer. I don't. From what I've seen, if you have a heated bed, a power backup isn't going to last that long unless you have a really, really large one. I don't remember any numbers offhand, but some of the calculations for like the power draw on machines that have heated beds don't really give you that much time. Yeah, this looks almost exactly the same size as the other Batarangs, which I don't have out here for some reason. Some of that's hit or miss. I mean, you might have a product that 75% of people say will fail prematurely, and then you can buy 10 of them and have no problems with any of them for years. That's been my experience with like hard drives and stuff. I've had people swear by like certain brands, and then I'd buy like 10 of them for an install and have a third of them fail. And then you buy a brand that everyone claims is just utter shit, and you have them in computers for 10 years. So I think like the best thing is finding companies that have good return policies and customer service more than anything. Because like just trying to go by their track record when you're looking at millions of pieces of hardware, and then you're only buying like a few, sometimes it doesn't really matter as much as you'd hope it would. Yeah, I actually talked to Joe Prusa about silent mode in the official group, and there are some trade-offs. You do introduce the potential of like the motor skipping steps at times, which to me I'd just rather tolerate the noise, honestly. Well, Joey pointed out that I started off with noise being an issue. That's because you could hear it on the floor above where I'm at. And that's not the case now. Between the bearings and nice little additions like the feet and stuff, that's not an issue. Like, I don't need it to be silent. I just needed to not hear it when I'm laying upstairs in bed. No, I don't disagree, Aaron. But like I said, when you're buying very small volumes of things, the track record of millions of devices, it doesn't. It does matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but it's like playing, going to a casino and stuff. You know, the house has a 5% advantage, but if you go in and play one game, it's almost irrelevant. Does my printer wobble while setting on the dampers? No, not at all. Like, that was one of the things I was worried about. I think part of it's that these are PLA, so they're a little bit stiffer than some of the materials that people tend to print these dampers in, because they're actually fairly stiff. But they do a really good job of keeping the machine from transmitting the vibrations into the work surface. Oh, sure, Aaron. Xerox buys in large volumes, but if you're going to buy a fan to replace your hot end, you're probably going to buy one or two. That's what like. It's like I said, I have like 15 years experience of building uh, computers and networks and stuff. So it might be the case that a company has a fantastic reputation and you still might buy a couple pieces of hardware and they fail immediately or be DOA. That's why, especially if you're saving a little bit of money, I'd never give somebody like a really hard time for buying like a cheaper brand or a brand that doesn't have the greatest reputation. Plus, plus it was just like the conflicting information on the bearings and stuff. Uh, a lot of it depends on the community that you're getting this information from, because take like uh, take like hard drive manufacturers like Seagate and Maxter. Depending on where you're at on the internet, one of them is amazing and the other one is utter shit. And the opinion you get depends a lot on where you're at, more so than what their actual track records are. Plus, you have things. There's just all kinds of things that contribute. Like there are good brands of equipment on like a site like Newegg that have terrible records, and some of it's due to like the way the reseller handles things, the way they ship things. Like there's a lot of things that go into it. I know that's not necessarily the case with fans, but it does affect things. There are companies that will sit on inventory for years, so when you buy one, you're actually getting one that's 5 or 6 years old already. But no, this filament seems to print nice. I don't know if it's ideal to mix it with like a different kind of PLA for a two-color print, but overall it seems to print nicely. And that's just using the default settings for PLA in Slicer that seems to work for most things, because they're still within the range that they recommend for this matte fiber PLA. Apparently they must use thermal labels. Apparently the thermal paper does not like alcohol. You can see I like activated it with this alcohol pad. But no, the Maker Box, I guess we didn't really talk about that. The Maker Box seems pretty cool. It's not at all an economical way to buy filament. Like, I would never say that it is. But for someone like me who doesn't have a ton of money to just go buy rolls of filament to try them out, it's a pretty cool little system. And then on top of like having the opportunity to try filaments that I couldn't otherwise have unless somebody sends me them for free, there seems to be a lot of like coupons and stuff that you get. It's just like this Protopasta one. It's they send, there's a coupon code here for $4 off. Stuff like that. So it kind of helps. I would imagine between the couple coupons in there and a couple of the promotional things, you almost get the value of the box back. So if you'd actually use all those, you essentially get the filaments for little, I wouldn't say free, but a little bit of nothing. Yeah, Prometheus says thermal paper doesn't like anything. That is very true. The company I worked for used to use it for all their labeling, and it works good if you never do anything to it. But yeah, we used to label all kinds of stuff, and then you'd go back after some time had passed, and like something happens, and your label's ruined, and you don't know what the hell you have. But all right, let me move the secondary camera over here, since this is printing nicely. But you can kind of hear, even on these high-speed infill moves, the printer's fairly quiet. I mean, that might be a little loud on the mic, but surely I'm louder than it is. I need to, well, it's one of the things I need to do. I need to get a better camera mount for my secondary camera. Yes, I can. Someone asked to link the damper that I printed. And I'll just show you these quick. They are a really nice file. Each pair prints in 2 pieces. And they just kind of like, you have to put it in there sideways. And then they lock really nicely. Like, it is a well-designed little unit, I think. And like I said, mine are out of PLA, so they're kind of stiff. But it's just enough to keep those, like, resonant frequencies from transmitting into your table. But let me find these really quick. Because I do recommend people give it a try. I think 1 or 2 people said that they don't like them. So I think ultimately it will be like a personal preference kind of thing. Let me find it here. Okay, yeah, I found it here. Here's a link, and then I'll go ahead and show you guys. Those are the dampers that we're talking about. These little 2-piece things here. And then let me go ahead and show you over here on the second screen. But there they are. There's 2 different types. Apparently there are... These are the regular 2. And then they have ones that are smaller. I don't really know what they're for. They might fit the same printer and just be like a smaller design. I'm not sure. But yeah, they print in 2 pieces and then interlock and give you a nice little unit. That, like I said, it does seem to work very well. So they're worth a try. They, if I'm not mistaken, I think it took less than an hour to print all 8 pieces to make a set of 4. Okay, I think we're at a color change here. Okay. So we're going to give this a try. We're going to try to get a clean print out of this. Okay. So it did eject properly. We're going to cut the end on our roll again so it feeds down in the head properly. And you just kind of, it's something you should probably know already, but you just cut them at an angle to give you a little bit of a point so the teeth in the extruder motor have something to grab onto. Okay, and then we're going to hit our button. And it'll pull that filament down in. And we haven't had problems with this today at all. The problem has been the little squirt it gives on the way back to the print. I think we can do like we were mentioning with this gray. This extra piece doesn't seem to break off. So we'll go ahead and I'll double check. Yeah, this is confirming that our color changed properly. Our tip's kind of dirty, but we'll clean that after this. So we'll confirm yes. And then there, it squirts out like another... That was like another 2 inches of filament that if you don't kind of grab a hold of it, it's just going to kind of smear it across your job. Our corners are a little ugly. Like, I think they need a little bit of support. I think it's just too much of an angle. But we can, like I said, we can sharpen with sandpaper or something. But it does kind of like mess the finish of your print up a little bit. Yeah, apparently these ones... Some people were having problems with the little lips hitting the washers on your corners. The nuts and washers. And that's because the guy designed these to keep the foam feet intact, the little felt feet that came with your printer, because I still have mine on. And I would think ultimately they will just help a little bit more. They'll just help dampen those vibrations a little bit more, so it probably is best to just leave them on. Because these actually, the little tabs on here go up past the foam, or the felt, and kind of grip this little corner superstructure a little bit, so they seem to work out nice. But yeah, the tips of these corners sag a little bit. They almost need a little bit of support. I guess not the end of the world. Let me get a piece of sandpaper. We'll sand this one up. I would imagine you can get these fairly sharp. Because like I said, we'll have to do some tests with throwing these at stuff. But we'll try to clean them up a little bit. Let me check this knob out. That's... Tep Tick Trips just linked a knob we'll check out in a second. One of the things that I'm going to probably do Thursday is we're gonna approach it from 2 different angles. We're gonna learn how to go in and change the firmware to make this a little less sensitive to turns when you're trying to click, because it has been an issue for me in the past that when you go to try to press the knob to acknowledge, like a click to select something, you can sometimes get a little bit of rotation, and it'll change the thing you have selected just before the click is acknowledged. And I haven't actually printed the wrong object yet, but I've come really close. Like, I just happened to see that the selection had changed right before I clicked. But I want to go in and we'll learn how to change that in the firmware to make it a little less sensitive to turns. And then I'm actually going to modify my machine and put a button on the face. We're actually going to wire the button press function of the knob out to an actual button, so it's completely independent of each other. I know a lot of people won't like that. I've already heard people say that that's like unnecessary, but I just know me personally, I'll prefer that. I've never liked the dual function knobs with a push button. It's just kind of a personal thing. But yeah, we're going to try to do that Thursday if I can get everything ready in time. Because we'll probably do that. I'll do that video, and then we'll try to do the hangout then for an hour or so. So we'll try to get... I don't think we're going to be able to get that nice of a point on here. Since the core of the problem is that the layers didn't adhere that well on the tips, I think we'd actually have to sand quite a bit of material away to get back to the point where they actually did adhere well. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. This one doesn't look as bad. The tips didn't sag as bad, so that's nice. Scaling it up did help, because there's going to be more layers in that that gradient or that angle, which make it a little less vulnerable to the sagging. But I think ultimately, again, this would be something that you could do easily in Simplify 3D. It'd be nice to just have very small supports out there on the tips, and you kind of have trouble doing that in Slicer. Yeah, unfortunately, these are just, the tips are just kind of getting soft. I don't think we can really bring them out to nice points. They're just too small. Nobody likes a soft tip. You can see how much my table wobbles. So if this was like wobbling, you'd see it. This isn't the most sturdy table. I mean, that looks a little better. I don't know. It's like most of these, most of the filaments, they kind of look like crap when you sand them, because it kind of kills that nice finish they had. I wouldn't say they look like crap. They just don't look great. I guess we'll do all of them while we're sitting here waiting. But has anybody done any cool prints lately? I do have one that I can kind of share. I want to get in contact with the company that makes these files. They actually have an Indiegogo going right now. These might be kind of hard to see. They're modular dungeon tiles for like role-playing games and stuff, like tabletop RPGs. And they have a cool little like interlocking. Like you print everything out. You print the little clips, and then the pieces have slots that interlock. And there's all kinds of stuff. Like they have all the different types of walls. There's floor sections, and if you can see, they're kind of like broken up into 1-inch squares, so they work really well with most games. Because I'd like to get in touch with them and maybe get a set of all of the files they have and actually do a video series on the process of printing them all out and then actually finishing them to like a tabletop standard. Like actually, like these ones I've sanded so all the like joints are nice and at right angles and everything, which they were okay right off the print bed, but with sanding they just have a little bit more room, so they lay flat. But these are very cool. I have some more printed out. You can see I did a bunch of wall sections because I want to use them for myself. But you can just make nice little dungeons and stuff. And I've done that before with plaster. I actually have these molds. I can show you guys some of them while we have a minute. But like here are some. These are built out of pieces cast out of plaster molds. Like this is a stone archway. I put like cork on the bottom. And then like these are finished. These are part of a courtyard. It's a big like 12 by 12 courtyard that is all painted and has static grass and some rocks from railroad molds and stuff on them. But really cool. I even got sticks and made little trees and shit. I'm a nerd, if anybody hasn't noticed. But these are kind of cool. They go together and they make a set. Like I said, it's like a 12-inch by 12-inch courtyard. Might actually be a little bigger than that, but these are out of plaster. And they're really great because they're cheap to make, but they're kind of a pain in the ass. And like if I would drop one of these, it would probably break. I mean, there's a slight chance it wouldn't, but it would probably break. Just see what else I have. But there's all kinds of things. Like there's a big stone throne and stuff I made. The molds are really versatile. But the advantage that this stuff has is that I could throw this across the room and it won't break. So that's definitely an advantage. And once it's painted, if you seal it right, but here are the molds. These were actually kind of expensive. They're from Hearst Arts, if anybody's heard of that company. But they're silicone molds, and they're really tough. They're really flexible. Like, I probably couldn't rip this in half if I tried. But, yeah, you mix up plaster, pour them in here, and then let them cure, and then you can, like, flex them and get all the stuff out. But they're really cool molds. Like, you see, there's all kinds of stuff. Doors, treasure chests. There's the ones with all the floor tiles. Some of the bigger floor tiles. And then there's some of these, like... These ones are fairly deep. But these are all the barrels and torches and campfires and chests and little, like, adornments and piles of coins and all that stuff. So, like, these are a little more versatile in some ways. And then, like... If you have the files, these are better, obviously. Okay, I see you, Aaron. I see you, man. I see you. let me check this out. When you've linked something for like the 14th time, I guess I'll check it out here. It's saying it's a bad link. Like, and obviously I repaired it, but it's saying it's a bad link. Let me try to fix it again. That's why I said we don't need to do that here. I'll leave info for anybody to get in touch with me to set that up. We don't need to set that up in this chat. Okay, time for a color change. The print looks nice so far. I don't know if you can't see it with the bed back, but it ejected properly. So that apparently was like a one-time error that we had last time. So we'll get our red in here. And again, always make sure you clip the tip because you can have trouble getting it to feed into the extruder if you don't. I've run into that myself. It actually doesn't seem to be too much of an issue to just have this kind of like loose on the spool holder. Like I said, if you're able to babysit the print. Okay, I'll copy that. I'll check it in a second. We'll get this started. But it looks like it loaded the new filament correctly. Okay, and we're going to try to leave this attached. Haha, we got it that time. So hopefully this will be a clean print. Hopefully we got a good one now. What do you mean chemically treats? Do you mean with like the acetone finishing process? Because I haven't done that yet, but I'd like to do that in the near future. I'd also like to get, because you can do acetone with the ABS, but you can also do the exact same process with another chemical. I can't really remember offhand, with the regular PLA. I think something like this would be a good candidate for that, where the smoothness is not going to be a problem. Like there's enough relief and texture in the file that the smoothness isn't going to hurt the quality of the print at all. You just primarily want to get rid of as much of the layer lines as you possibly can. Yeah, acetone will not work. I mean, I haven't confirmed that personally, but from what I've seen, acetone won't work. But yeah, there apparently is a chemical that you can use that's a little bit harder to find, but it'll work with the PLAs in the same way that acetone works with ABS. But I'll test all that at some point. Because like I said, I'd like to do it for that dungeon, so we can get those pieces finished up and get them looking nice. Because the more you get rid of some of those layer lines, like if you are going to do painting and stuff, the easier that is on you. Because we had the Triceratops skull that I kind of like painted that I haven't had a chance to finish yet. But if we could have treated this, it would have made it a lot easier. I mean, this doesn't look bad, especially the larger areas, because I sanded it. Just with little pieces of sandpaper like this, just kind of took 10 or 15 minutes and sanded it. But the problem is sanding doesn't get into some of the hard-to-reach areas where some of those, like, vapor treatments will. they'll get basically everywhere with a few exceptions. So they do have that massive advantage. Plus, they're really quick. Once you have your setup kind of ready, it's really easy to do. It's possible. I would imagine there's still something you can use, even with TPE and TPU. I mean, essentially everything has a solvent out there that'll eat it. And that's essentially all you're looking for, is to find something that's not heinous to the point where you don't want it in your house like some stuff is, but will still like, you know, get it done. See ya, Alex. Given the number of new people in, or given the number of people in here, I should say, I would assume we have some new people with us. So, if you are new and you want to see, like, anything related to, like, I do kind of cater to the MK2, like this specific printers community. But I'm trying my best to do at least what we've been maintaining at least 2 videos a week, usually a little bit more than that, that address like different issues with 3D printing and stuff. Because just like the Triceratops skull and stuff, and those dungeon pieces and all that stuff, finishing pieces is going to be a big part of the things I do going forward. For me personally, like that's going to be a big part of printing in general. Is I'm going to be making things and then finishing them to be sold. Like I said, this actually isn't too bad. I thought this was going to be more of a problem. I think the filament guide helps. That's why I said one of the things that we do when we give stuff away is I'm going to be giving away at least 1 or 2 sets of all the 3D printed upgrades that I've made for the MK2. Because I think it really does make a difference. We'll rotate the printer here, but it's just like this rear mount that one of the guys in chat had made. I think it really does address a genuine issue that this printer has with the Y-axis motor having a little bit of leverage and getting pulled out of square. I know it's hard to see, but this material does seem to bridge okay. Yeah, I do a lot of tabletop gaming. In the last few years, I haven't done a ton, which kind of makes me sad. But we had a card shop right down the road from me that used to cater to like the Magic community, and they kind of switched gears and now cater to like tabletop gamers. So I've been trying to get back into it because I can. It's close enough that I can sneak away like 1 day a week, play some games, and it's not that big of a deal. But I've been playing War Machine lately because it's kind of nice that the scale of the game's kind of smaller, so it's a little... I hesitate to say it's less expensive than other tabletop gaming, but... Can the Batman print be flipped so that it has no overhangs? No, because it's the same on both sides. Like, if you look at it this way, both sides, they kind of come into a point equally from both faces. So, no, that really wouldn't address the problem. Claudio asked, the Prusa MK2 uses threaded rods or lead screws. Do you mean for, like, the Z-axis? I know you can't really see this here, but they're threaded rods. Hell yeah, Gojira. At least somebody has good taste in music, eh? They use threaded rods on their Z-axis motors, and one of the nice things about these kits is that these do not have a coupler. They don't have a coupler between the rod and the motor. The rod is actually integrated into the motor, so there's no like flex or anything like that people seem to have with some of the couplers. Like they can't loosen essentially. But no, of the few problems that I've had with this machine, none of them have been with the Z-axis. It is one of the features I like. Because I've seen quite a few videos with people having their lead screws. Yeah, maybe someone in chat could explain that better than me. I might not be understanding the terminology exactly. Because I guess, yeah, these technically aren't... They are in a literal sense threaded rods, but I guess they're not threaded rods in the sense that you're asking. It looks like Joseph and Spike are on top of that already. But yeah, Gojira, if anybody's a metal fan, they're one of the best metal bands out there right now, in my opinion. One of the best experiences I've had, like, seeing a metal band live, with the exception of, like, one or two bands that I like more. But they're one of the few bands I listen to that people are like, you know, what's somebody else that sounds like them, to give me an idea of what they sound like. There really isn't anyone that sounds like Gojira. They are my jam. Okay, Spike said that lead screws have a much steeper thread and made the much tighter tolerances. I mean, I guess I get what you're saying. Like, if you'd go to your local home improvement store and get a threaded rod, they'll have threads like a screw that actually come to a point, and these ones don't. Like he said, they're much steeper threading, and the tips don't come to points. They're actually flat. So they do, like, fit inside of all the threaded components, like, much tighter. There's no, like, wobble. But I think there is some talk about the smooth rods that come with these kits, that they're not as high of quality as they could be. They're not actually like chrome polished rods that have a very, very smooth surface, which I kind of agree with. I think they're adequate, but especially when you combine them with the linear bearings, the somewhat rough, I hesitate to say rough, but the not perfectly smooth finish they have on them, combined with the metal ball bearings and the linear bearings, do create a bit of noise. Yeah, the Airhead's correct. The frame are threaded rods, and they're basically like coated versions of regular threaded rod stock that you can get basically anywhere. But luckily, they don't serve any purpose other than structure. Someone asked if I have a filament cleaner before my my extruder. Yes, normally I do. I haven't been using it today, just because we've been switching filaments so much. But yeah, I use this little one, which is we talked about this in another video. This is off Thingiverse. It prints like this in one piece, and it has a hinge in it, and you just put like two little pieces of foam in there, and then I was having a problem with them not staying closed tightly. So I actually took electrical tape. I found that if you take electrical tape and like put it on the outside of that edge, and then just like wrap it around to the inside where this hasp kind of like pushes on it, they work perfect now. But normally, yeah, I do have that on here. Yeah, normally I do have that sitting there like that, but I just haven't used it today. Or you can put it down right in front of the extruder. I've seen some people do. Like, you can put it down there. I guess it does make a little bit more sense to be right before the extruder. I haven't oiled it yet. I know some of the purpose of that is to use it as an oiler to help with the extrusion, and it makes it like a little bit more consistent, but I haven't actually done that yet. It's one of those situations where like I keep like second guessing myself. I'm afraid to like overdo it. But I will probably do that maybe tomorrow if I get a chance to do some looking into what I should use exactly. Because it seems like basically any... I don't know if organic's the right word, but any kind of like normal oil seems to work. Spike said he doesn't oil it. I've seen plenty of people say that it does help with extrusion, or even if you don't oil it, to season your tip, just like you... Does it make noise as it rubs against the sponge? No. I mean, this is a rough filament, but I don't actually have a ton of sponge in there, so there's not tons of pressure. But yeah, I've seen people say canola oil is good. Basically anything that isn't... like I jokingly said... I can't remember the name of the oil. But, yeah. Basically any cooking oils. But you only need a tiny, tiny little bit from what I've heard. We do have some, I just noticed, we do have some funny little tips on here. They look sharp on the camera, but they have a little bit of curl in them here in person. But no, from what I understand, the idea is similar to kind of using like a cast iron pan, that the oil would just like season the metal, and it just like helps lubricate everything. Which makes sense. I think it just makes the metal less likely to have any like friction against the material that's passing through it, which probably is a good thing, I would imagine. Like I said, I haven't heard... The only time I hear negatives about using an oiler is if you overdo it. And pretty much everything else has been positive that I've seen, so... So it seems like something that's safe to do. One thing I do have coming, I hope it gets here this week. When you buy one of these, like the MK2s have an E3 V6, E3D V6 hot end. It's one of their newest ones. Apparently they're shipping all of them now with a silicone sock that helps insulate it a little bit, but primarily just keeps your heat block from getting all crappy looking, like mine is slowly starting to. Because as soon as filament touches it, it's hot enough to liquefy the filament, so it just spreads over and kind of gets dark and kind of yucky. So hopefully that comes this week, and I want to do a little video on those because they're really cheap. I think it was like $6.99 for 3 of them, and like I said, it keeps like your filament from actually like touching and sticking to the hot end block, which is a good thing. Patrick. No, it's one of those things. You really shouldn't be having filament do that ever. But I don't think you're really saving anything by having it wick up into your hot end. Like, I think that's going to cause you problems in the long term. So, like, if that happens, something went wrong, and you shouldn't be using your hot end to kind of save your print. Like, I'd rather, if the piece does, like, fall in the print, I'd rather, in most cases, ruin the print and keep my hot end clean. I mean, both things are ultimately replaceable, but... But, yeah. I would imagine, too, it'll keep the tip hotter, and it would... in theory, allow you to use a little more aggressive cooling when the heatsink and your, like, little heat exchanger thing, which would be better. I don't know how true that is. That might not be true, but... But no, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, the postage costs. Well, it wasn't as much, but yeah, it was 50% of the cost of the socks. That's why apparently they're selling all, like from a little while ago onward, they're selling all of the hot ends with those, and they didn't increase the price at all. So that's cool. It looks like we're getting close to done here. I think this is the last layer. Yeah, we're at 97%. So, but now I guess this is kind of technically the first review of the matte fiber HTPLA. Uh, we haven't heat treated it, so I didn't test that aspect of it. But overall, with relatively standard temperature and speed settings, it seems to print really nice. It claims that you don't need a heated bed, like under bed temperature. It says not required, but this is heated. I guess we could have tried it without heating the bed, but even this piece with the heated bed, it didn't seem to cause any problems. It gives you that kind of like super slick, shiny kind of finish that, well, I guess it's going to do that on the bed anyway, but no, it didn't cause any like flaring or anything crazy. But no, like I said about giveaways, I'll probably give this Batarang away when we do some. But I see now that we're going to have to quit doing, like, I wanted to do one at 100 and then 250. We're going to have to wait to bigger mile marks because we've really been blowing through some of these subscriber kind of mile marks. I could be wrong, but I would guess in another week or so we'll probably be rounding up 500 or so. Because I used to check a lot at first, and that was before we had hit 100. Because like all the things I've done on YouTube before were so small, you really don't get much feedback and stuff. But yeah, like I had to quit doing it because it has slowed down a little bit. But for the most part, like every time I would check the channel, it's just like there's just more people. Every time I'd refresh the page, there's like one or two more. Because I think there's a little bit of a delay between someone subbing and it showing to most users, but it for the most part shows it to me like right away. Yeah, I'm getting famous. Not really. No, it's mostly that I'm just glad like I can help some people out, because I think the vast majority of the viewers that I get are people that are also new like me. And I know like YouTube is an amazing resource for pretty much anything, but at the same time like it can be really frustrating to deal with some of the issues you come across like in isolation, like if you feel like you're just kind of alone. Like obviously there are forums and stuff, but it's kind of like an entirely different experience to see somebody actually go through some of the struggles that you're dealing with. It definitely makes it a little less painful. Yeah, we'll have to do that at some point and do a recalibration. Looks like we're done. We'll just give that a minute to cool here. But I would say, like, just looking at this, the tips are kind of funny. The tips are kind of funny here. Like, I know you can't really see it, but they curled a little bit. But I would say this is a successful two-color print. Finally, we did it. That's when they're pretty good. I have a little tip that I discovered for myself, was using my scraper. Like, I kept, like, kind of marring, I wouldn't say scratching, but just, like, putting marks on my PEI sheet. It's just taking, like, whatever cloth you use to wipe your bed and put it under the corner that isn't the one that you're going to pry with. So, like, if we're going to pry this edge a little bit, just put a cloth under that corner so you don't end up scratching your PEI sheet. No, I gotta say, that's a cool print. We'll get the camera over here so I can kind of show you. There's the side that was against the bed. You can see it actually lays the layers down really nice. It's almost like glassy. And then there's the top layer. Again, that's a really nice print. This material prints nicely. I can see, like in person, I can see the layer lines a little bit. But for the most part, like I said, this kind of looks like a sheet of construction paper on top. It's really smooth. Like, it actually hides the extrusion lines really well. And then you can see we have the gray sandwiched in there. You can also see, I'll try to like make that visible. The tips are kind of curled a tiny little bit, which kind of makes them funny looking. It does look funny. And you can see on the backside, let me make this camera. Well, the main camera, I have autofocus turned off, so we'll try to get by with this one. You can see here what I was talking about with the, let's try it. We'll try it. I'll humor you guys. There, we're autofocusing. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a nightmare. So here is the, that's the surface that was against the print bed. That's the face. And then, if it'll cooperate, you can see there's the little kind of curly things on the underside of the slopes. Like I said, it's a little sharp. It's a little sharp of a point, I guess, to try to do. It's a little ambitious. Yeah, we could, someone suggested printing a little bit slower. Could potentially help with that. Which I agree. It probably would. But I think overall, this is a pretty cool print. That's a nice sized Batarang. I do want to throw it at stuff. But yeah, and Spike recommended lowering the temp. I think both of those are good advice. I think if you lower the temp by a few degrees and slow the speed down on... you wouldn't have to slow the entire speed down, but at least on the perimeters, that would help. Because even on this point that's a little less aggressive, you see a little bit of that effect, though it's not bad enough to be like an issue. But no, overall, that's a cool print, and this is cool filament. If you'd want that kind of you can hear when I rub it, it's got kind of like a, not rough, just like a satiny texture. But no, I think the matte fiber HTPLA is a cool filament. And this was at 210, I'm pretty sure. I'll double check here in Slicer what our settings were. Filament settings. 210. The extruder was 210 and the bed was at 55. And as far as speeds, our perimeters were at 40. And our external perimeters were at 30. So I guess you could try going down to 20. You could give that a try. Yeah, we are nitpicking. I'll give you that. But at the same time, like, if you guys are like me, I'm a picky person. I mean, that's just kind of like my nature. So I don't think that's a bad thing, especially when you're showing people your results. Uh, Picky people tend to have cool shit because they're picky. I do have to say, this is a great printer. We'll do a little product placement here. I do a moderate amount of like looking around on the internet with 3D printing stuff. And I tell you, the more I see people do things with other printers, the more I'm glad I don't own those printers. Like if you compare the average, hey, I just printed this post in the MK2 forum to like a generic 3D printing like group, there is a significant difference. Like I've seen some pretty, I mean, to be frank, terrible prints in some of the like generic, hey, I'm 3D printing forums, and people are proud of them, and more power to them. But whew, I'm glad I don't own that printer. Some of them have shocked me, like the prints that people post, and it's like a pride print, like, hey, check this out, guys, this is awesome. And then you look at it and you're just like, oh my god. And some of it isn't necessarily the printer itself. Some people just have like issues, like, and I've done the same thing where I just have like setting problems that really doesn't have anything to do with the printer. It's just something I'm doing wrong. But yeah, I'm glad I spent a little bit of extra money and got this machine because it does print great. I can't complain. Ann Busy asked, have I tried Simplify 3D? No, I haven't. I'd like to. I actually reached out to them to try to get a copy because I can't afford one right now. And they were nice about it. They actually responded really quickly. And like I said, they were nice about it, but they said no. They did offer me a 25% discount, which is great. I can't really complain. That's more than a lot of companies would do. But I want to get a copy because everything I've seen says that you can improve the quality of your prints by using Simplify 3D over some of the other slicers, just because it gives you a little bit more control. Like, I like Slicer that comes with the Prusa one that they provide you with a software kind of suite. But like one of the huge limitations it has is with the support material. You essentially have no options. I mean, I know you technically have options, but like, for instance, I'll just grab the pieces. I was printing out sets of these things. These are for wargaming. They're like pipeline pieces, and you use them with PVC. I'll go ahead and show you because they are cool. I'll just rob this piece here. But you print these pieces, and then you use like regular PVC pipe, and they go in here, and you can like make miniature pipelines and stuff for like miniature wargaming and stuff, like 40K, games like that, War Machine and stuff. But anyway, I was printing these in batches, which again, people with other printers don't recommend you do. Like, I was actually filling my print bed and had no problems. And I remember posting in the one group, and the one guy was like, all I see here is pain. But anyway, I was printing these files, and these pieces do not need any supports, and these pieces do, because they have a little bit of overhang in there, and you can probably get away without doing it, but if you want that inside curve to be nice, it needs a little bit of support. And in Slicer, I'll actually show you here. I'll grab a link here. These were actually files that I paid for. This is the same company that's doing the dungeon tiles that I showed you. Let me find them here quick. Here's a link to these pipeline files, and I think they're reasonably priced because they're significantly higher quality than stuff you're going to find on like Thingiverse for the most part. But anyway, let me go ahead and pull let's open Slicer up here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I'm sure, like, you can adjust some of this stuff. Like, here's two of the pieces that I was talking about, right? So this is Slicer that comes with the Prusa printer. And we have our big piece there and this piece. And if we go in to generate support material, I think if we go to preview here, it'll show us. I think it's going to take a second here for it to generate it, but you'll see what I mean immediately. Keep in mind, the only place I want support material is right here. But as soon as this is done, you'll see what the problem becomes. Is it generates support material all over the place. And it becomes a pain in the ass cleaning these pieces up because the support material breaks away nice, but there's just a lot more work. Like, all I want is this little block right here, really. And it ends up supporting all these pieces that just absolutely don't need support. Like these little nubs, these little bolts, they don't need support. You know, they just don't. It's kind of comical that the program thinks that it needs that. And in a lot of other slicers, you'd be able to disable that. But in this one, you just can't. No, I'm not using the new version. I know you guys are saying there's a new version released today. But no, I haven't. I literally woke up this morning and started streaming, so. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty good illustration of like just one of the shortcomings that Slicer has compared to some of the other slicing suites. I mean, I know you could, some people might point out, you could design the file with supports in place and stuff, but that's so much more work than just having a program where you can bring your STLs in or your 3D files directly and just kind of like be able to manipulate it in your slicer. So for stuff like that, yeah, I really would like to change things. Aaron pointed out there's lots of things fixed. Yeah, I haven't actually read the change logs. If I get a chance to get on tomorrow, I'll probably do a short video on it because I am looking forward to it because I'm going to have to use it for a while until I can afford Simplify. But hopefully, like I'm going to get off here in a little bit and I'm going to have to bust my ass and try to get a bunch of stuff sold on eBay here. I have a couple hundred, literally hundreds of items I need to list. And I've been kind of slacking because I've been doing 3D printing stuff so much. But I need to take the rest of the day here and do some eBay stuff to get caught back up. But I'm going to try to bust my ass and get some money set aside to get it, like, maybe next week, hopefully. Because I would like to do a series of videos on it. Like I said, a lot of the viewers that I get are new people. So people like me don't know how to use it. So I'd like to do some like quick tutorial type things, like just how to get started as like a new user. Yeah, I saw someone said that Slicer finally got triangle infill for stiff prints. That's been a video I want to do. I'll probably end up doing it next week. I want to just print out some bars, maybe about this size. They're about that thick, maybe a little bit longer. And print a bunch of them with the different infills and just test like the strength and see. Like one of the problems I was running into, I would imagine that the honeycomb or octagon infill is probably one of the stronger ones, especially the 3D octagon infill. But the problem I was running into was that it causes gaps that are bigger than some of the other patterns at the same infill percentage. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you do two different patterns at 10% infill, some of them will actually give you bigger bridges. And it was kind of an issue. I was getting that kind of, like, pillowing between when it was, like, bridging that first layer across the infill. So like to just do some tests and see like the different qualities that the different infill types have. But I think the triangle infill will help that because being that it's a triangle, you're going to have fewer roots that just go over that wide open space being that the corners all come together. So that's probably a welcome upgrade. Joe was suggesting cubic. Yeah, I think I closed slicer, but yeah, I think some, like, it does give you a fair amount of options, but I think some of them are just kind of useless. That's kind of why I wanted to do a video, because I think there's some of them that you can just write off altogether that you're never going to use. They're just not practical. And the honeycomb might be one of them. Even though that, like I said, if you're just doing it flat, the honeycomb shape I don't think offers you that much strength. But when you're doing like the 3D one, where it's like a honeycomb in all 3 dimensions, like I would imagine geometrically that one's fairly strong. Just like kind of like the triangle one. Like you do have geometry actually working for you, which is kind of a cool thing. But at the same time, if it introduces problems, like I said, with you do have this nice honeycomb shape that geometrically is strong, but at the same time you have a bigger void in the middle than some of the other shapes are going to give you, and it can cause some practical problems with the actual like printing process. But no, I think we're going to essentially wrap it up today. Luckily, we successfully did a 2-color print. I think I will bring it. I'm going to do a post in the Prusa group about the little bit of extra extrusion after it changes and purges the second color, because I think that's going to be a nightmare. Even like being aware of it and stuff, it just requires like an extra level of babysitting that you need to do with a print that kind of sucks. Especially when I just don't see why it does it. It just seems totally unnecessary. It just seems to be introducing another way to have a print fail that isn't really gaining you anything. Someone said, by the way, it seems they fixed the issues with consistency with the infill percentage with different infill. I agree. I mean, that might be exactly what was causing me the problems that I was having, because it did seem inconsistent is the right word. It did seem kind of inconsistent, because you could tweak the percentage and get something that looked about the same across different infills, but some of the numbers were shocking. Like with the honeycomb, I had to take it up to almost like 20% to get the same kind of like scale of lattice pattern that some of the other infills had at like 10%. So again, it just kind of like anything like that kind of lets you have to pay less attention to. I know that sounds stupid, but you shouldn't have to be critical of absolutely everything you ever do because it's not working the way it's intended. Just like with the little bit of extrusion on the 2-color print. Some of that stuff just works against you in a really bad way. It just introduces new ways for you to like fail some of your prints. But yeah, I think, like I said, ideally, a week or 2 or a month from now, I'll be using Simplify, just because it does give you a little bit more power. But to be fair, getting their branch of Slicer from Prusa, I think, is a great thing. They're not just like giving you a machine and saying, hey, good luck dialing your settings in. I hope that works out for you. So for that, it's great. I mean, if you take a new guy like me, I've been printing for 3 weeks using Slicer and have had very few problems. Like things like the issues like this with the supports and stuff, they're kind of isolated. So I can't complain too much. But I think there's definitely still room for improvement. I think they're aware of that. That's why they're still working on it. So I can't complain too much. They're still a really good company, and I'd still recommend people buy the MK2. It is a really great printer. But I guess that's going to be. I'll preheat this and pull the filament out. Well, this is a tip. I have not looked into this myself, but someone has repeatedly suggested to me that, like, if you look at the printer here, the hot end and pinda are fairly close to the bed, and it has been suggested to me that you should go in here to settings and then move axis, and actually move your z-axis up before you preheat your bed, so that it doesn't like put wear on your pinda sensor from the heat. So I will go ahead and do that. So there, we're preheating. You have to preheat the hot end before you can eject the filament, so if anybody didn't know that. But yeah, I'll try to jump on tomorrow for a short video, maybe a half hour or so, and we'll just review the changelog for Slicer, because that will be relevant to me, and basically all other, not all, but most other MK2 users, because a lot of people are still using Slicer. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll see what's been changed. We'll make note of like the improvements and stuff that have been made, because I think an important part of like them improving Slicer is going to be us giving feedback that's kind of, you know, not misguided. It's just like, hopefully that's useful to someone to give a little bit of feedback on the 2-color printing process, because it's surprising sometimes. It might just be the case that no one has really brought that to their attention, or no one has really complained about it, and that's why that issue has persisted. Because I would imagine that's just... I wouldn't imagine, I'm almost certain that's just something in the G-code it's generating that needs changed. It doesn't need to re-extrude a little bit before it resumes the print. And like we discussed, I think going somewhere on the edge of the print bed and doing another purge strip would completely eliminate that problem. I'm in Pennsylvania, in the States. We're Eastern Standard Time. And I think I was a few minutes late starting today, but I generally try to start at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. I mean, pretty much, Joseph. Joseph asked if we're done for the day. I mean, unless there's something else relatively quick that you guys would want me to do, or that you want to discuss. Say, we kind of got 2 birds with 1 stone today. We did do a 2-color, and we got to try one of our 4 filaments. I forget what the other ones are, because I do want to try the marble. I forget what it's called. The monumental from Treed that has the marble dust in it. I think that'll be cool to mess with. But I want to try to find... I'll probably try to find a file tonight and start printing it. Because like I said, I'd like to print a bust of some kind. And maybe I'll actually sit down and pull out some 3D game files from a game I like and try to do a bust of one of the characters. Again, I don't know how much... I'm not really used to like knowing how much I can print, just eyeballing the filament. But it would be cool to get a sizable one. Maybe do like a 4 or 5 inch bust. Because my first thought was Duke Nukem from Duke Nukem 3D. But we'll have to see. Unless anybody has any suggestions for what we might do with the monumental marble filament, maybe you can leave a comment in this video. I wouldn't leave it in chat because that'll get lost. But leave a comment on this video after it's like done processing. But that would be... Pubifill has pubic hair fibers in it. Different strokes for different folks, man. That surely can't smell that nice going through the hot end. I know they made like the one filament that smells like freshly brewed coffee while it's extruding. That would be a very different experience to have hair going through there. That does, this is a total non sequitur, but one of my favorite YouTubers is Jorg Sprav. He has the Slingshot channel. I'll just, let me find this quick. I'll leave you guys with this. You can check it out. You can watch it while I'm off air. But has an extremely cool channel. It's almost I say almost. It is exclusively dedicated to like slingshots and rubber-powered weapons. But that is technically pubic hair. But he makes slingshots, and one of the ones he did was he shaved his beard off and mixed his beard hair with epoxy and stuff and made a slingshot handle out of his beard, essentially. It's kind of a unique video. But even he didn't have to smell it going through a 220-degree hot end. But no, I guess that's pretty much it for today. I don't want to linger too long. I have a habit of making videos significantly longer than they have to be. But no, hopefully we all learned a little bit more about the two-color printing process using Prusa's website and their kind of little tool that they provide. But I do want to experiment more. We'll have to do that at a later date. We'll have to experiment a little bit more and see if there's any other ways to accomplish the same thing. Since it is just a G-code thing, I would imagine there are some slicers. Like, I'm interested to find out if like, Simplify 3D has a... Oh, I hope I didn't change all the info in my video here. But if Simplify has a way of doing that, because I'd like to try some different methods. If they'd fix this method, I think it would be fine. But until they do, I think I'll do a little bit of experimentation. But, yeah. But anyway, yeah, soon we're going to be... I don't know how soon I'll be able to get one, but I will be getting the 4 material upgrade for this machine, and we'll test that out. I'm kind of torn on it because it does go to a Bowden. Unless I'm mistaken, you no longer have the extruder motor on the head, and it goes to like a Bowden-esque style delivery system for the filament, which I'm not excited about. But I guess we'll all find out together. Hopefully it's sweet. I hope it's sweet. Especially if... The big thing to me will be if it allows you to do multicolor prints without having to babysit the machine. Like if I can do a 20-hour print with several different colors and be able to more or less trust that everything's going to work without me having to like babysit it like I do with this process, that would be fantastic. If that's not the case, it's going to be kind of disappointing. I hope that's not the case. Everybody cross their fingers. I really hope that's not the case. And I hope it's kind of like a set and forget kind of thing once it's calibrated and everything's the way it should be. Because I think it'll have limited utility if that's the case. But yeah, exactly. Like Joseph pointed out, you shouldn't have to babysit this. Because I've already done... I think the longest print I've done so far was 27 hours, and I only checked on the machine like 3 times. Like, I have a ton of confidence in this machine. That's why, like, if I upgrade it to the 4-color thing, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to have to babysit it then, so... Like I said, I guess we'll all find out together. I can't... Like Ann Busy said, I hope we don't get more problems with the multicolor system. In a lot of ways, I can't fathom how that doesn't introduce some problems, just because like it's increasing the complexity of the delivery system. But I'm just hoping that it's not significant enough to not want it. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't compromise the reliability at all, because I think that'll be kind of tragic. Especially since we're all just going to be stuck with those if we buy them, unfortunately. So they're not that expensive, to be fair, but at the same time, I think they're at like $250 plus probably, if I had to guess, $30 to $50 shipping depending on where you're at. So that's not the end of the world spending that much money, but at the same time, all of us probably have other things we'd like to spend that on if we had the option. So, no, hopefully it all goes well. Hopefully they don't tarnish their good name with the new system. I'm hoping. Peter says it's not reliable. That seems plausible. That's why I'm torn. Oh, yeah, Aaron said you can go back. You can totally go back, but like I said, you're going to be stuck with a $300 investment that, yeah, that you're not really going to have much use for. I guess you will have some cool stepper motors and stuff that you can use for other projects, but you could have got them a lot cheaper than getting them through that. All right, we're going to eject our filament here. This red does seem to mushroom out a little bit on the tip. Seems to do that a little worse than the other filaments, but still not bad. Cool filament. I could see making some toys and stuff for my daughter out of this stuff with the nice satiny finish. It's kind of unique. Instead of the super smooth, kind of shiny finish that most of the other PLAs I've used have. But, yeah, we'll wrap it up here. I'm going to throw this in the bag. And then... Peter, you don't trust your MK2 to leave it alone? Yeah, why not? I've like... At first, I did that. I did that a lot. Like, I just constantly checked. Like, every half hour, 45 minutes, I'd check. And it just got to the point where, like, I realized myself it was unnecessary. It never needed... the only thing that I ever... on this roll of gray, which I need to fix, I need to unroll about 10 feet of it and re-roll it. There was... Yeah, I can see it there. There was one overlap in the roll here. But even with that... It really didn't cause an issue. It was just putting a little bit of tension on the filament. But yeah, for the most part, this has been a super, super reliable machine. So, yeah, if you're checking on it a lot, you're probably wasting your time. But yeah, anyway, I'm lingering. I'm being a lingerer here. No, I agree. It could easily be the case that I caused that by not, like, generally I at least let the because I printed multiple of these filters out. I printed the filters out, and generally I let them on there, and then you know, all these spools have things on the side, so you can kind of like tie the end into it through the hole and just bend it. But yeah, I think it's preventable. But I genuinely think that this one was just the way the roll was rolled. I think it was not something that I had done, because it happened almost immediately. But like I said, not that big of a deal. It didn't cause any failed prints or anything. And the first time I saw that was during like a 17-hour print. And when I came down, it had probably been 4 hours or so since I checked it. And then, like, going to bed at night, I let it run at night. And that's what, like a 7 or 8 hour period that it's unattended. But someone asked, did you know about a camera holder that can be mounted on the Z-axis? Do you mean up here? I think if you get on Thingiverse, there are quite a few. Some of the more useful ones are the ones that actually mount to the corner of the bed, in my opinion. Because like when you do time lapses and stuff, it keeps the relation between the camera and the print the same, so you don't have this weird like jittery video like you see some people have. But if you get on the Prusa group, there actually is a conversation going on right now about a guy who's been slowly working on one that mounts to the print bed, which is kind of cool. I don't even think it mounts. I think it just kind of like has a little thing that squeezes up between the print bed and the frame and kind of just holds itself in with friction. But if you're like me and you use like these little webcams, They only weigh a few ounces, so they're not too bad to have floating on your print bed. I don't think it's going to introduce any problems. You've had thermal runaway on 4 machines. I think this is a case of exactly what I was talking about earlier, how, like, regardless of how good the track record for a company is, if you're dealing with small numbers of their product, it can sometimes be a crapshoot, because you can just be one of those guys that happens to have gotten, you know, a couple lemons. It just happens sometimes. But it's like this, like, I've had nothing but good experiences with the MK2, but I also only own 1 printer. So my sample size is 1. But now, if you get on Thingiverse, there's stuff that mounts basically anywhere on this. Well, see, that's you're kind of, that's not what we were really talking about. 4 different people is not the same as one person getting 4 machines and it happening to all of them. It's like I said, if that's a problem for 0.001% of the community, and all 4 of them happen to be people that voice their problems in a public way, it's, again, your sample size is tiny. So it's one of those things. It's hard to really get, it's hard to really, like, read into stuff too much. But yeah, like people said, I think they did fix that in the firmware. But, well, look at it this way. You've seen 4 people that have had that problem. How many people have you seen? Like, you've already seen 3 just in this chat that said they don't monitor their printer when it's printing. So yeah. Like I said, it gets weird. It gets weird, like, trying to decide some of that stuff off of, like, anecdotal evidence. But no, I wouldn't. It's like any product. I wouldn't take a few people that have bad experiences as, like, an indication of what the company as a whole is doing or what you should expect if you buy a printer. Because the overwhelming majority of people that I've communicated with, yeah, have just had nothing but a good experience overall. And if they have had any problems, like, I've had some problems with this, but they've always been like, trivial. But yeah, I mean, if you want to babysit your machine, different strokes for different folks. But mine has been reliable. Like I said, I've done, like, when I printed out these batches of these walls and floors and tiles and stuff, they're like 18-hour prints, and I've done 3 batches of them already, and I haven't had any problems. And those were full bed prints too. But yeah, like I said, some stuff every individual kind of has to figure out for themselves what works for you. It's just kind of the nature of existence. Even if something works for 99% of people, there's going to be people who they just don't like it for whatever reason, or it doesn't fit their circumstances. So yeah. Well, like that, if you can do remote monitoring, that's makes it a lot easier. If you're using Octoprint, that's different. It's like we talked long ago about some of the guys who just stream their printer printing on YouTube, like 24/7, so they can monitor it that way. I mean, I could never give somebody a hard time for doing that. I guess I was more picturing you, like, physically going to the machine and checking on it and stuff, because that's just not practical for most people. It's even like me. I live, like, I'm a homebody. And even me, like, when I go work on this eBay stuff, I'm probably going to start a print, and it'll probably run for 8 or 10 hours with me only checking it once or twice. So, like I said, everybody has to figure out for themselves what works best for them. So, yeah. Nothing anybody should ever argue over, I don't think. But if anyone ever asks me my opinion, yeah, I have a lot of confidence in this machine. Unless I'm doing 2-color prints, I'm still kind of wary about that. And I'm kind of nervous about the four material upgrade, but if I'm just doing a single color print that's just gonna sit there and do its thing, yeah, I don't have any problems like trusting that it's gonna be all right. But yeah, I'd like you guys are talking about Ninja Flex. I'd love to print some. I have a lot of prints that I'd like to do with that stuff because it's pretty sweet. Like I'd really, really, really like to do one of those open source RC cars where you print literally everything except the bolts and nuts and hardware and radio equipment, and you can even print the tires and stuff with some of the flexible materials. That is going to happen. That is going to happen in the future because I really want to do that. I used to race RC cars, and I still like dabble with RC helicopters. Like I think I have one down here, maybe not. Yeah, I have a mini down here. This is dusty, but this is one of the mini RC helis that I have. I have a couple of them, but they're a lot of fun. This one won't fly inverted, but it's still pretty quick for the size it is. But unfortunately, I think this one's a little too small to do any like 3D printed modifications. Like I've modded this airframe quite a bit. Like this actually, most of this airframe I built myself out of a carbon rod, thread, and super glue. Because it weighs about a third as much as the base airframe. But I think this one's a little too small to 3D print anything for. But no, there will be some RC projects in the future. For sure. It's just like Angus from Maker's Muse does like he dabbles in robotics and stuff. And man, I'd like to print me a robot out, get some servos and radio equipment that I already have, and get it walking around. Maybe do some makeshift battle bots kind of thing. That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, guys, like I said 15 minutes ago, I'm lingering. I'm a lingerer. I'd linger all day chatting, but I gotta go. I gotta go try to make some money. My voice is going slowly, and hopefully I can make enough money in the next week or so to get Simplify 3D, and we'll start doing some videos on that because I'm anxious to see like what kind of things that opens up. Refugio 101 says, partially thanks to my videos, and I'm sure like some of the other reviews you've seen, I still haven't done my official review, because I do want to do that as like an actual video that I record. I was thinking about it, like I do want to record it and do like a normal edited video for the review, so it's not just like a rambling mess like a lot of these videos are. But I was thinking I could probably stream that process, because I've already had some questions about like how I do things and how I film things and kind of like the production side. So I'll probably film those again maybe next week. That's right, next week we're gonna have the Wednesday whatever stream, so maybe we could do some of it then. Because most of that video will be shot with this camera, my DSLR, which is a very different process than using webcams and stuff. So, yeah, maybe we'll do that. Because anybody that doesn't know, every other Wednesday is like a hangout stream that's just kind of laid back. That'll probably be 6 hours long or so. Just for people to pop in and chat. And we'll be doing random stuff that's not always directly related to 3D printing. So, just a nice change of pace. Whatever Wednesday. Yeah, unfortunately, Joseph, I have to run right now. Like I said, I'll probably post a very short separate video tonight about all my contact information, and all of you guys who wanted to do a hangout on Thursday. Like, I would like to do that. That'd be cool to actually make contact with some of you guys. So I will do that. Like I said, I'll get all my contact information, and you, especially Joseph, if you wanted to send me those bearings, I'll get you my PO box and stuff. And like I said, that'll all be in the video description from here on out for all the videos I do. But yes, I can print accessories for my DSLR. Like, I need to print a slider for doing those like artistic-y bullshit shots that everybody has in their videos that everybody gets excited about. I need to print some of those. I need to print a Steadicam. Like, I have a cheap one, but yeah. I think he's lingering. I am totally lingering. Like I said, I could do it for days. But, yeah. Summarize. Short video tonight about contact information. Thursday we'll be doing the push button mods, the firmware, and the actual physical button mod. I'll get everything ready for that. And next week on our Wednesday stream, we'll be shooting our official review. And I'm glad I could push some of you over the edge to get the MK2, because I think you will be happy with it. I had a lot of fun assembling it. If you do buy the kit, I think it's a fantastic way to get into it, because you kind of have an intimate knowledge of the machine and stuff. It's not like you just bought something and have to kind of figure it out. But that is true, I could use the bearings. Okay, I'm lingering. I'm sorry. I'm going to go. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by, hanging out for a little bit. If you haven't subbed yet, go ahead. If you want updates on everything, go ahead and sub. We'll show our successful... This was a genuinely successful, except for the tips. Shut up about the tips. Genuinely successful two-color print. We have gray sandwiched between two red pieces. Productive day. Productive day. I think most of you can accomplish a two-color print in less than 2.5 hours, but that's how long it took me. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Huge thanks to all of you who subbed and helped me hit 300 subscribers. That's crazy. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we're at 500 in another week or so. Blows my mind. Thanks again. And today's Tuesday, so we'll see you Thursday at 10 a.m. Thanks everybody.